Well, let's get more on this deal, and we are pleased to have with us this morning CSR's Managing Director, Jeremy Sutcliffe, who joins us from our Sydney studios. Good morning to you, Jeremy. Let's talk about this deal, 1.35 billion Aussie in cash. What else about this offer made sense to you?
Well, of course, the full price of the offer was 1.75 billion, allowing for repayment of debt. And, judged by the market reaction, investors are happy that we've taken the trade sale route rather than the demerger option, which was the other alternative that we were looking at.
Now, Jeremy, let me ask you, have you heard back from China Bright Food Dairy? Have they had anything to say about this, or pardon me, China Bright Food itself?
Well, I mean, naturally, we advised Bright that they were unsuccessful yesterday morning. We thanked them for their efforts and for all the hard work they'd put in, and they've been gracious in their response. So I think they recognise that at the end of the day, the Wilmar proposal was really superior, both in terms of price and also certainty.
So you're not expecting a counter offer coming back from China Bright Food then?
Look, the deal with Wilmar is not conditional and doesn't really allow for any bids to come in above it.
Okay, let me ask you about the price tag. As you mentioned, 1.75 billion Australia. That comes to roughly about $1.5 billion US dollars. Do you think that was a fair price tag in your view? Because we do have sugar prices again on the rise.
Look, it is. I mean, that represents, a pretty historic multiple for us in terms of looking at last year, where, we've priced the deal at around about 10 times, just short of 10 times EBITDA, or around about 15 times EBIT on last year. And when you look at the cyclical nature of the sugar price, that really represents about a just north of 20 times historic 10-year average EBIT for sucrogen.
Yeah, that's right. Sugar prices are pretty volatile, but they did pretty well last year. I think one of the best performers on the commodity index. So does it make sense for you right now for CSR to sell off your sugar unit?
Look, we've been a conglomerate for much of our 150-year history, and the focus of the board has been creating shareholder value. We did that in 2003 with the spin-off from Rinca, and this was really the last piece of the jigsaw in getting CSR back to a single focus building products company.
Okay, and let me talk about this deal. You're expecting it to close by maybe the fourth quarter. Do you think that the Foreign Investment Board might say something about this? Because Wilmar International is a Singapore-based company, after all.
Well, we would hope not. I mean, it's a publicly listed, well-known multinational. In terms of the sucrogen business, whilst in one sense sugar's a resource, it's not a mineral and is not therefore subject to some of the special conditions that the Foreign Investment Review Board apply to resources companies. So we're very confident that this will go through without too much delay.
Okay, let's talk about the cash, because as you mentioned, $1.5 billion US dollars is a price tag. You're going to use that to pay down debt. Do you think you might use some of the cash maybe for acquisitions of your own?
Look, I think there's three things we've got to look at. Firstly, we've got to recognise our historic asbestos liabilities and the cash flow required to meet those. But putting that aside for 1 second, we've two things to look at. One's the strategic direction of CSR as a single-focused building products company, and the other is how best to return capital to shareholders, whether it be by capital return, special dividend, or buyback. So, over the course of the next couple of months, we'll be reviewing all of those options.
Okay, and quickly, Jeremy, what about asbestos provisioning for CSR? Where do you see that going?
Well, nothing changes. We've now embarked upon very detailed disclosure year on year, and that's going to continue.
Okay, Jeremy, thank you so much for your time. Jeremy Sutcliffe, CSR's Managing Director, joining us from our Sydney bureau.